our deductible.
Yeah, but our insurance company is paying, public health insurance is paying
That's
the
right.
claim.
That's right.
And I guess my question is, how much did, I don't care what Ford County did, I want to know what our insurance company paid on our behalf. And we've got this $2,500 deductible, we need to know that.
All right, I will pull that out.
Our, this policy, this company, Global Recovery Services, is that the actual insurance carrier? It's somebody in between?
Yeah.
Okay. Because our actual insurance is with? down
With-
there.
I don't even remember.
Is that the,
So we only had to pay it because it was that was a deductible?
No, they settled out of court, and the health department was liable for X, so our insurance company said, your portion of this is X, and here's your deductible, if you've got to pay your deductible. So
Lexus and insurance, does that sound correct?
yeah,
I think that's annual premium payments, right? I don't think that's monthly.
right.
I think it's annual or biannual. I don't think
Right,
it's
But
monthly.
that's the actual insurance company that paid the claim.
Well, that told Global to do it or
Right. in
whatever,
between.
yeah.
But we need to know, again, we need to know dollar amounts that our insurance company settled for.
Okay,
What will that change?
What will it change? Well, I want to know. As a board member, I want to understand the scope of everything that we're doing, and to allow $2,500 to go out, maybe it was a $5,000 settlement, maybe it was $150,000, I don't know. And I think that makes a difference when you start looking at insurance premiums going forward, if you have claims that affects the end result.
Right.
So those are things that we need to have to know to understand to make good decisions going forward.
I mean, you're not going to challenge the claim that was made.
No,
Okay, that was my question. Like, we really are not in a position to go
No,
against
no,
the
no,
claim
no,
that's
no.
made.
I mean, I have to pay it, that's
No.
why I was getting a little lost.
No, it's a public record, and the board itself needs to understand what we're settling on, why they paid it, how much, so that going forward, we need to know whether our liabilities go up or down as
Right,
we.
and claims against our liability insurance, but for this particular claim being paid on our expenses, there's no contest to that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And how do you want to be communicated those things, just via email?
It'll be attached to the statement, actually. I mean, you should have when you get your billing, you should have a claim that should say paid on this claim or whatever, if you just attach it.
No,
to
I'm
this.
just saying with questions
Oh,
in general. Like when the questions like this, it's just a matter of taking that and scanning that sheet and sending it out. If it's all right, I'll just do it via email. And then we can put that, I guess, since the meeting minutes haven't been typed, we can put that in the meeting minutes that we're adding that insurance claim, out of court settlement, dollar figure. Okay. Stericycle is biohazard waste. Richard Pilo and Associates is for our annual Medicare cost report. He is a certified public accountant. Paxton Clinic, BCCP, again for breast and cervical, same on Onarga Clinic, same on Riverside Medical Center, AT&T, just all our phone systems. That's really about all the big ones for April. Looking into May, thing on that, Ladarius PT Services, halfway down, $1,115. Iroquois Memorial Hospital, same thing, physical therapy contract, contractual services, $4,074. DTI Office Solutions, that's our copier company. The advertising and stuff in there is through our tobacco grant, and that's really about it. Not a lot of big ones. So, questions?
Yeah, I think we'll go back and talk about the bill with Mr. Boyer, I guess. The one that needs to be discussed now.
The numbers then.
Pardon?
Check number
Check number.
31254.
I guess I'm questioning the bill under the county statutes that apply to public health districts. There was no real authority that I can see that was granted the public health board to hire outside counsel. And when you do that, we get free advice with the state's attorney there. We have two state's attorneys that are eligible to give free advice. And now we've obligated the taxpayers to, I think there's really $1,900 on this one. I think there was another one I thought for $500 or something. I don't know.
4 or 500,
Yeah.
sounds right.
And when you go back and look over the last few years, in the claims, and this Cheryl Sandel case, which Mr. Boyer's billing part of this bill on, that was a huge mistake. Cheryl Sandel, when that bill was presented, or when she filed a claim, that should have been turned over to the insurance company, and it wasn't. We hired outside counsel without any legal authority to hire outside counsel. Now, the problem is, if there is a settlement, if there's any money damages of any kind in the settlement, the county's insurance is not going to cover this.
It's not a court case.
Well, you want to,
It's an administrative case at this point with the Department of Human Services. And she's claiming age discrimination, so she's claiming that her dismissal was based on her age, so.
is there a possibility of money awards in that case?
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly going to ask for a job back and back pay for this process if she's awarded that.
And I guess that's my point. We should have turned this over, it should have been turned over to our insurance carrier. We carry errors and omissions exactly for that same. So we're paying the insurance to protect us. Then we go out and we get private counsel. Now we have no protection. Our Randy Schultz, the insurance company that carries the error and omissions insurance, at the last county board meeting, specifically addressed this question. And there is no coverage now because it's almost 4 years later, I believe, pretty close to 4 years. There's no coverage because it was never told about it. These are bad decisions, and they have a huge impact going forward on public health. And, we have, again, we have a lot of other bills presented by Mr. Boyer here for FOIA requests, et cetera, et cetera. I guess I never seen anything in the minutes that authorized him to do that in any way, shape, or form. So now we're expending public money without a public vote, public input into doing these things, and I'm very concerned. I won't support paying this bill because I don't think it's a legitimate bill of taxpayer money. I think we had counsel there and in Ford County that could have been contacted and do the work.
Well, the council in Ford County couldn't have been contacted because she's an Iroquois County resident. So, to my knowledge, you guys
You mean
split
the
as
Cheryl
far as-
Sandel case?
Yes.
Yes, But I'm
You got
talking
split
about
jurisdiction.
with all the other issues that were being billed for here on this bill, those are all, should have been addressed originally with the two state's attorneys and not by private attorneys outside. Now, I mean, we're wasting taxpayer money. We're spending it for private counsel when we already are paying the state's attorneys for their advice. I won't support paying this bill. That's my opinion.
Did we ever even pick up a phone and call their advice, or was there any communication ever made at all? Or we just automatically came with this case and we called private? I'm just curious, where did we email, ask questions, anything at all that before we went forward?
Looking back, I think it was taken upon the board to protect themselves in things that are coming up as far as dissenting opinions. And I've even got that for future discussion of how to best go about when you've got situations where a state's attorney represents both a county and represents a health department, can prosecute against a health department. It's not a situation where it's not dual interest, conflict of interest. So I think that's why the board took on the fact of hiring a private attorney.
Well, these issues, and I'm going to, again, disagree with that, because these issues are very much in the purview, and if you want to read the statute, it very much says that up until January the 1st of 2012, that there was no ability of the public health department to hire outside counsel, ever. Very specific in the law that the state's attorneys represented the public health districts, period, up until 1/1 of 12. On 1/1 of 12, it allows you want to,
Just for things outside of the competence of the state's attorney's office, then the public health board can hire private counsel, but it needs to be outside of the abilities of the state's attorneys. That's essentially what that means.
so there's still a great limit on what the public health board can do with outside counsel. We need to follow the rules, and we're not. And that's not good going forward, because we are expending money that we don't have to expend.
But the attorney's already provided the services, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Fine.
So what items that he's charging for? Do you disagree with specifically?
Well, we had no right originally to hire him in the Cheryl Sandel case, number one. That was totally a miscalculation.
Is that on this bill?
There are, yes, that is part, if you look at the bill right here, it says right on the front of it, Department of Human Rights case, $125, so it's definitely on the bill.
So 125 is the portion of that bill you're disagreeing with?
No, I'm saying the whole thing, when you look at it, then you go into the FOIA issues, and the FOIA issues are in the purviews of the state's attorneys, and not Mr. Boyer. I just, yes.
Can we pay him for these services and then moving forward not have any more services with him unless they're outside of
We
our
already
purview?
said we didn't need this.
It's already,
Okay.
Anymore.
it's already been severed.
The decision was already made that we no longer needed them.
I think one of the things that came into light during that one meeting when Mr. Devine left, he said he would no longer be representing the board in regards to FOIA or the incidents with things that were going on in regards to that particular group of people. And I think that's when we decided that we needed to have some sort of counsel.
When was that, Ted? When was that?
It was the second or third meeting, and when both the county chairman were here, and you were leaving and going outside the door. I mean, you had been representing us pretty squarely and I thought equitably. But when you walked out the door and you made that one statement, and maybe I misunderstood, but I think a couple of us heard it fairly clearly, that we felt then that you were saying you were divorcing yourself from the health department.
No,
And
meaning that
therefore,
was illegal.
we needed counsel, and so we went forth with the idea that what you had said was in fact that you would not represent the council, the health board.
I think you're operating on an assumption that I never made any statements that I was not going to represent.
Well, there was a lot of things being said, and a lot of
I
people were
understand,
saying
but I have a
things
pretty
that
good
wasn't
memory, and that's how I
recorded,
make a
sir.
living.
And I think that there were things said that perhaps people didn't realize you were saying too.
Yeah, well, I was pretty clear that.
Because I asked others to find out whether I had heard it right. So, you know, it is what it is. I mean, it could be entirely a misunderstanding, but at the same time, when a state's attorney tells you that they're no longer representing the health department, as a health department, the health department doesn't need representation.
And this is simply untrue. That's
Was this
absolutely-
during the illegal meeting?
Yes.
So no action should have been taken on anything said in that meeting?
We didn't take the
anyway.
action.
But you're saying you're following whatever was said in a meeting that should have never taken place. So
We're
why would you
taking-
follow something he said? No
Because
action should have been taken place at that meeting.
he wasn't a part of the meeting.
He just made a
He was
statement.
just a individual here like everyone else listening to it.
No,
He had talked to us, but I
Mr.
felt.
Fenton and Mr. Devine both walked in, stood right in that doorway and said that that was an illegal meeting because it did not meet the Open Meetings Act, and they both left the building because of that.
Yeah, I mean, that was as simple as it was. There was no speech, there was no statement saying, I'm not going to represent you anymore.
When I heard it, you walked out that door there, sir.
I walked out that door, I walked out the library and a whole crowd of people. And then I had to eventually walk out that door. Never spoke to you, I never spoke to anyone other than Matt Fitton.
On the November,
Well, you weren't speaking to me as an individual, you were just making a statement as you were talking to everyone in the room, as you were going out the door, is what I understood.
Well, we're at a point that we understand that you disagree with that. The services have already been rendered, so we're gonna need to take a vote.
well, and I want to point out one, while we're discussing this, on your November the 19th board meeting, and it very specifically says, moved by Dr. Bernadette Ray to approve the administrator's action of hiring a private attorney to assist the health department with navigating financial and service responsibilities. There's never any other motion in any of the minutes anywhere that authorized Mr. Boyer to send letters out to anybody or defend anything in the FOIA. There was no action by this board. A lot of what's transpired here, and, when we were given the book with the policy and procedures and all the things, talks about the Open Meetings Act. You're required to follow it. It hasn't been followed here at all, very little. And that's terrible, because this is public business. It's public funds that we spend. And we have to do our best and be accountable to the public, and we're not doing that.
So there's no contest to the hiring of him to navigate when we're working with two attorney generals from Illinois and Indiana. And there's no contest to the fact that he was hired.
I'm saying what your motion was. Would I have voted for that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And
It was my understanding what we were investigating was outside of the purview of our county state's attorney.
and that's not correct, because you have an agreement. Again, we go back to the simple agreement between Ford and Iroquois County. It's very specific. It does not allow you to go outside of the two county areas. If you want to go outside of that, it's been my point of contention all along, you have to go back to the two county boards and get their approval. If you wanted to include, for instance, Kankakee County or Vermilion County in this public health district, you could not just go say, okay, we want to sign you up and they'll come into the health district. It doesn't work that way. You have to get both county boards that form this district in the beginning to authorize that. And that, again, we've spent somewhere over $10,000 on this Indiana venture with no return to the public at all. We're still paying the contract for the building. Again, we had attorneys on staff. Not one of them was asked a question. And so as we keep spending this money and we're in financial trouble, do we all agree that we're not doing well financially? Is that a fair statement? That we're not doing well financially? And yet we keep doing things where this money just keeps going away quicker and quicker. And we need to get a grip on it. And hiring attorneys and the actions, and again, this, to me, by your motion here, you limited it to very one specific item. You didn't open this up to hire a private attorney, do whatever you sent him to do. And that's what I'm saying is wrong with that. You may, because this was after 1/1/12, you may have had the legal authority to actually do this. I don't know that. That would be for Mr. Devine to decide, but
My understanding that we did, that the Bi-County is a unique situation, and the proximity to another state is a unique situation. So the questions, my understanding, the questions we posed to our county state's attorney couldn't be answered because of the Bi-County situation and the close proximity to the state. I would suggest then, regardless of what you would have done at that meeting, if there are specific claims that you feel fall outside of what we felt appropriate to hire him to do, that you line item and we could send a response. But if we felt it was appropriate to hire him and the services that we hired him for are provided appropriately, then that should be paid.
and that's, I'm just making it very clear going forward why and where we're at. Due diligence has to be done before we go off on anything else, and we haven't done that here. I mean, we have to look at these things. There was no rush in doing any of this. You could have done the homework ahead of time and then realized, and again, you talk about the Bi-County thing. Forget all of that. The simpleness of it was, you had no authority.
We can't forget that.
Absolutely, you can, because you have no authority to go
That's your
outside of the two
opinion.
counties. Pardon?
That's your opinion and his opinion.
Well, and the Attorney General's opinion too. So,
But the,
You have to, you
No, the
have,
Attorney General, if I recall, Jim, told you to read a certain section and said that. They didn't say either way.
Yeah, they did. You're not the one who spoke with the Assistant Attorney General who gave me that advice. They did say that there was a way to do it, Doug, but not the way you did it.
again, we have this agreement that is with the two counties. It limits your scope, and until that is geographically and to the residents. It's very
No,
specific.
it's-
Oh, yes, it is, very
There
specific.
are several state programs that we're required to fulfill that are not dependent on residency of the county.
Read the agreement
There,
and,
and we have to be
That's-
cautious to say that we're gonna limit to the residency of the county when there are state programs we're required to fulfill that are not.
and
Not
that's-
even state or residency status at all.
But I guess what I'm saying is you tried to use this to go outside of the two-county area. You tried to go into Indiana. and
Will you
that's
at least
not-
acknowledge that there are programs that are not?
I don't know, I
dependent?
haven't seen the program. Show them to me and then I'll,
I think you
TB,
need more
STD,
information, because
Prenatal, WIC.
we have seen those programs, and there is
That's fine.
veracity to that.
and that's
Uh,
fine.
Operating a health department is much like any other medical facility. It has laws that it must be governed by and must actually answer to that other businesses or entities do not.
And you very well may be true, and I've
So
said,
going forward,
Yes.
I mean,
Just please.
yeah,
I think we spent enough time on this. We've made your point. We've acknowledged there were things that could have been done differently. We're just trying to move forward and make it agreeable for everybody and serve the Bi-County area as we should. So, I mean, we're on number 2 here, and we're already an hour into it. So I would accept a motion to accept the claims.
So moved.
Opposed? Or second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 opposed.
Opposed? Thank you. So we can move on to grants and contracts then.
Yes, the only signed contract that we have received has been the IDPH vector control grant for $16,148. There's no other PAC meeting minutes.
Did you want to motion on just that before bringing the contract, or do you want to do it all as one?
We can probably just run through this and do it all as one after you go through the agenda. That's all right.
Did anybody have questions on that grant? A motion to accept the grant?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the professional advisory committee report?
Questions?
Do you guys have any questions on minutes from the PAC committee or PAC meeting?
I'm gonna make a recommendation for, we got 3 people down there.
Yeah, we will do that later.
What's next on your list here? List of motions, what's next?
Right, it doesn't totally follow the agenda, but we'll move back and forth in and out of that. Yeah, that's why I said later we'll go and approve the minutes and also look and discuss taking Mrs. Boucher's, she came in, gave me a verbal resignation, and there are a couple of people that we were looking at for her replacement. Bev Cofoot is an RN, Kathy McEwen is an RN, and Pat Ball is an RN. All 3 have worked at the health department and are very, very familiar with the home health activities. So those are, out of those 3 names of what we've been nominated so far. So we can either do that now and approve the minutes, or we can do
Do
it
we need
later.
all 3 of them?
No, we just need one of the 3.
Just one.
Yep.
So recommendations 4 to 1.
Any one of them be fine. They're all retired, they don't, they would all do it. They do a good job of it.
Do you guys have any?
Do you know any of them?
I know a couple of them, I think they're doing pretty good. I mean, did any of them show more of an interest than the others? I mean, or they just said, well, I'll do it, or?
We don't have resumes or letters of interest or anything from any of them.
No.
Yeah, 'cause saying you do it when you're asked and then getting down to it is a different story, so that's why I just.
No, I don't see any of them backing out, given the opportunity.
Maybe they could all 3 just come to the next Board of Health meeting so that we could know who we're voting for.
Well, the PAC's gonna meet before we meet again.
Train.
Yeah, it meets the 19th. Next board meeting's July something.
15th or something.
Were they nominated or
No,
just suggestions?
just suggestions that staff members have come up with, and
We
yeah,
already did one's doing the nomination.
yes, officially, and from inside the PAC.
Have any of them served on the PAC before?
No. Ms. Boucher worked with all 3 of them. She knows them.
So we just make a motion to approve the advisory committee report, and leave off the appointment until next board meeting when I come here.
We can do that.
Do we need them for now, or just ask them to submit like a letter of interest?
Either way.
So you can, review it ahead of time? there's questions, we can ask.
Yep.
Well, I mean, the thing about the PAC is they're supposed to represent their skill set, so, I mean, that's why it's designed with different degrees, is so that each, and there's still short speech therapy.
Yes, we haven't found a speech therapist yet.
Did you make that motion?
Move to approve, to receive, I'm sorry, to receive and approve the minutes of the March 13th Professional Advisory Committee, accept the resignation of Mrs. Mary Boucher, and then leave off the last line.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Opposed? So that second line, we should change then in the minutes and have,
Yeah, she,
one of letters to be written.
I've got to put letter of interest with a resume along with your next Board of Health mailing, so you can kind of read through that and see who you'd want to choose out of the three.
So will they be able to meet that? I'm not thinking not, or will that affect their time?
No, they'll be able to meet.
So then we can go on to treasurer.
Yes, we need, treasurer, received a letter from Mindy Hagan, attaches a copy of the letter we received from Jim Devine, Iroquois State's Attorney. Letter advises for the Iroquois Public Health Department choose a treasurer from their membership in the meeting. And then there is the Iroquois County State's Attorney letter to Mindy Coons Hagan in reviewing the county codes, that they shall elect a membership, from their membership among other duties, a treasurer. And Mr. Devine writes, I believe it would be in Iroquois County's best interest to require the Fort Iroquois Public Health Department to elect one of their members as treasurer, and to develop best accounting and practice safeguards to process the check writing process in the future.
Can you clarify the recommendations for the physical checks to be signed or
That's
for the
right.
claims to be reviewed?
No, the claims will still be reviewed by the president, or in this
We
case,
need
the president-elect.
physical checks going out.
The physical checks going out.
They need to be signed by one of us.
Countersigned, yes.
So no payments will be able to be made to name.
Well, they need to, checks need to go out twice a month, so
Yeah.
nothing gets paid late. In addition to that, under that statute, it also requires that the treasurer, or in their absence, someone else mentioned, but the treasurer would be the one that would sign for the paperwork to bring the tax levies back into the health department.
We need to make the suggestions to the county boards.
Well, actually, yeah, to draw, we have a simple paragraph that will say to both counties in the amount of X, and we put the statutes in there, and it's basically making a claim, but we would need the treasurer then to sign that instead of me signing it to recoup the tax levy every year. One for each county.
And right now, I think every position is a one-year term. I mean, unless somebody wants to volunteer for 5 or 6.
Well,
So
the
just-
health treasurer can be a 1, 2, or 3 year, but the problem is they have to be on the Board of Health, so.
Right.
This is, the reason this is up or whatever, because that's what the state law requires for health department. It's 2 or more, that's the statute required, and for years,
Do we have a treasurer, or the treasurer signs every check paid?
that
Both.
you have both, that you have a treasurer and they do it. For years, the Iroquois County treasurer, they would produce the checks at public health, they took them over and
Ran them through the machine and.
run them through the machine, and she signed them all. But that's not legal. She doesn't
Can't
have
do
any
it back.
authority of any kind, so that's why this is another corrective action.
Because I mean, a lot of boards will have a secretary treasurer combined position, but this is suggesting a separate position. And then I'm just trying to make sure logistically,
You know,
physically, who could get there to make sure that our payments are never late.
I don't know that you couldn't combine those positions, would it matter?
Secretary treasurer. I mean, as long as you have a treasurer, you have to designate a treasurer, so you got those dual capacity.
Right,
No,
but it can be a
Does it have to be
dual,
an independent treasurer? A lot of boards will have a secretary treasurer.
And the statute doesn't really say that, it doesn't distinct. It doesn't
For,
require that.
for a number of years,
Could we double
from the
triple
very
check?
beginning, when I was on the board, the president of the Board of Health actually did the signing of those checks, physically stayed after the meeting and signed the checks.
Then we transitioned to signing the claims, like reviewing and signing, rather than signing the actual paper checks.
Well, we still reviewed the claims in the meeting, but then,
No, I mean, like the president once or twice a month gets the page with the checks to review and sign.
that part of the change, yeah, he did the initial review of it.
So you're gonna have to physically go someplace, or this is gonna be sent to them?
You'd have to
Well,
go because the
either
checks
or.
are
Be
gonna
on-
sit in the office until
Yeah.
they get paid out.
I'd have
So
to,
they're gonna have to nominate somebody that can actually physically get there then.
well, either that, or I mean, it doesn't really matter, we can drive wherever to get checks on.
Just put 'em- so you just get a lockbox and drive and chase somebody's down.
No, whoever the treasurer is.
Well, I'm just thinking, like,
Well, like if you made, not that you will, and I'm not in that position, but if you made me the treasurer, I'm not gonna be able to get over there and sign the checks.
twice a
Right.
month, yeah.
Twice a month.
Right.
Okay, so is anybody able to get to the office to sign checks twice
I
a
mean,
month?
does this have to be done?
You
at the-
work full-time?
Yeah,
Eleanor,
yeah.
she's like,
Will go on my motorcycle?
I'm just worried, because we'd have to have almost a backup, because if someone's gone or ill, we cannot have
Well,
late payments.
we can do that, and also have them sign on the signature card, so there would be a backup. I mean, most places do have a backup for that very reason.
Yeah.
I don't work full-time, but I'm not feel thrilled about having to
Calling
drive to
Watsika every other week.
Watsika twice a month. I mean, it's something you could do, but
My itinerary for the next year is such that I'm not gonna be here available that much.
Well, I think we
just
need to
be-
keep
can we
moving
all
back
be
on lines that
together
she's
and
not doing
whoever
whatever,
gets in there.
you know.
and I'm in Watsika, but I think your hours are less than mine and you're closed before I'm done.
Well, that's why I said, I mean, we can make arrangements to, there's people in early, there's people in late.
I just don't want anything to be paid late, because one of us can't get there when we're supposed to get there. And a lot of these are local people, local businesses.
she could pick up the checks. Did you think the office
Yeah,
was
who wants
closed
that?
already?
I go to work at 5:30 and I don't get done till usually 6:30, so I know they're not there when I leave.
They have to be printed in the Watsika office.
They're all-
There's no
they're-
printer capability in Paxton.
No, they're all printed there, and then we take them, put them in a lockbox, and take them out to the county.
Yeah.
So, for what it's worth, that's why I said we can take them in a lockbox and take them down to your office or whatever. I don't know, during a morning, before a morning patient or during lunch. If, I know you see patients over lunch too, so.
And I'm just tossing it out, I mean, I'm in Watsika a lot for the next 6 months, I would do it till we could work something else out. If that was somebody else wants to do it on a permanent, I would do it for 6 months, just till we can figure out. I mean, this is the new thing here that's off guard, I mean, it was another thing that needed to be fixed, so that's an option. But
So any one of you, aside from those two, can make a motion and second it to,
Should we, I mean, is it okay to have both people on signature card from Iroquois County, or do we need to have one for one Iroquois?
no, I think it'd be fine to have it.
Not required from each county. So, could be just one of your members.
I think it's gonna take all of us to get it done, is the thing.
Gonna have to have 6 signatures.
Tag, you're it next week.
So did you make that motion then, or you said wait? I got lost. 'Cause I don't nominate myself.
No.
I'll nominate him as the treasurer.
But it was going to be changed to a six-month interim until permanent, or
So,
since permanent.
Yeah, we did that one, yeah.
Now, who would make a motion for Mr. Copeland?
Correct.
Yeah,
Or you?
No, for
You
him.
make it, okay. all right.
I know what you meant.
Unless you want to
Well,
drive
that's
the
what
trucks to
I
Indiana.
thought, but I
that's
wanted
right.
to make
I
sure.
know what you meant.
Second?
Second.
So then the backup also was 6 month?
I think so,
I-
because. I mean,
Yeah, and
if
then
he's-
we'll try to get it more permanent.
So they're both 6 months.
So who's the backup?
System.
I can
Michelle.
do,
Michelle.
I can do backup if somebody can bring him to Paxton.
She's over there in Watsika all the time too, so.
Which is fine, I just didn't know if you're familiar enough with all the accounts to be comfortable signing
Right,
up.
that's why I'll have to, that's why I said 6 months transition, so we could start getting, I mean, I know a lot of these on there, because I do a lot of them myself,
Yeah,
so.
but some of them hit you and are a
Right.
little bit different.
Well, it's not like you can't call them.
Right, right, that's what, for 6 months it is the transition too.
And I'm just, don't
So do we
sign
need
it
to
10
add that
minutes.
in?
Do we
to
need to
sign.
Right,
add her
I'm
in?
not just gonna stop it and sign, but, okay.
Yes.
This is fair.
So the claims summary will still go to the president as it continues to do
Yes, he's
for
gonna
information,
approve.
but it won't be,
He's gonna approve the claims, and then this will be, the treasurer will actually physically sign
So
it.
they're not actually saying yes to them, we've
No,
already done that, it's already gone through that process.
The president is, but
This
it's
is
another,
just
it's an accounting
physical.
safeguard to make sure that,
This
Somebody's-
matches this, and
yeah.
what was approved is actually what we're paying, so.
So in the future, we may be able to stop the review with the president each month if we have a board member acting as treasurer. I mean, we're not at that point yet, but in theory.
yeah, technically, I think you could, but it's just, to me, it's another safeguard to make sure as many eyes can look at money, the better off you are.
I think
Make
most
sure you're
places
not-
have at least a 2 anyway.
Yeah, and then you
Usually
don't
every
have-
department head
have
doing it, and then
Well, but we don't have it
mistakes.
here too,
right.
so each payment's gonna be seen 3, 4 times. Okay.
So do we have a second on that?
I seconded it.
Oh, you seconded that, okay. And all in favor?
I,
Opposed? So that was read as Mr. Copus will fill in for 6 months with Mrs. Fairley as the backup to approve the, as treasurer for a half-year term.
Just to physically sign the checks, yes.
well, we may come up with a lot of other treasurer duties. If we have a new position.
Is that why you said 6 months? Which way you going?
Yeah.
It's growing a little too big for me?
I mean, if we're without one, so utilize it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Make a motion to buy a rubber stamp so you don't have to sign it.
Just like something 15 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to amend the agenda just a little bit. I think a couple of them have to get back to work. And I'd like to move, approach to go into executive session under 5 ILCS 120-2, reasonable potential danger to safety of employees, staff, and public, private property, and/or public
Is
property.
that the one you said we didn't want to do?
Yeah, that's been stricken and taken care of. We don't need to do it.
Well, it's on the agenda, and
case it didn't get discussed, but it did get discussed.
I think there was a reason for it being on the agenda, and so I think we need to understand what's going on.